got started in model aviation at a really young age. We used to fly paper airplanes around, and occasionally we'd get a kit to build. And so I started out doing free flight, wind-up rubber band planes. The cheap ones you get at the store, a Sleek Streak. My dad was a control line and free flight pilot from his younger years. So he retrieved his planes from the farm where I used to live on after about 5 years after I was born. And he would fly control line and we would go out and help as much as we could. And then after he saw we were showing an interest in it, we started with the normal Cox PT-19 with the rubber band on wings. Eventually he got us interested in building, because back then you had to know how to build as well as fly and repair. So I ended up getting a Magician kit. Was the first kit that I actually built for control line. And we were covering them in silk span and painting dope on them. So I remember the smell of the glue and the dope from back in the good old days. And then I flew control line for probably 2 or 3 years. And then my dad started radio control flying and taking us to the RC field when I was about in 5th grade. We used to come home from school, or my dad would come home from work. He'd always come up and he'd bank his arms like this while he's walking, and he goes, "Which way are you going to push the stick now to level your hands out?" and stuff. So I mean, it was helping build up your brain image so you knew which way to do the sticks. And then I finally got my own radio, but I decided I liked, after seeing a sailplane fly, that I liked sailplanes and gliders better just because of being clean, and it was just outdoor activity. And my parents used to, instead of going to baseball practice or stuff, they took me out to the local high school. They had a South Bay Soaring Society club that had a winch out. So they would drop me off in the morning just after sunrise, and we'd fly until they'd pick me up and bring me home for lunch. The club started doing Aeronautics scale planes, which I thought was even more interesting than the normal polyhedral sailplanes I'd been flying. So that's what got me more interested again, and we started doing Aeronautics again with the same South Bay Soaring Society club. They had a field down in Morgan Hill that they flew once a month on. So when I moved to Jacksonville, Florida, I didn't even know where the RC club was. That wasn't high on my list when I bought my house. But fortunately, Jack's RC was only 6 miles from my house, so I went down there to see what was happening. And after going to one of their meetings and just hanging out the field for a couple weekends, I ended up doing helicopters for the first 2 years. And from my perspective, it was really fun doing helicopters because it was an engineering challenge to put them together, get everything working right, programming the radio and flying. But eventually I switched to planes, and I've been flying planes ever since then. I started out with small electric planes. I think my first real electric plane might have even been the Park Zone T-28. And then I made the mistake of buying a free-wing Avanti 80mm jet. That got me interested in ducted fans. And then after you get a taste of that, I ended up buying probably 20 or 25 jets in a row. And then about 10 years ago, I got interested more in the building because I liked the building so much. So I started looking back in my past and recreating some of the planes I had started flying on. And plus the field was turning into all the planes were the same. You could show up and there'd be 10 planes just like yours. And I can guarantee you when I build one here, I can probably go to the Nationals and have the only plane of that type at the Nationals. And now it's gotten out of hands. I could fly 2 planes a weekend and never fly the plane more than once per year. Really, I mean, it just kept growing and growing from there, and it's still going today. Well, it kept me out of trouble. I didn't need to buy cigarettes or alcohol or fancy expensive cars. It's a healthy lifestyle, it's interesting. It makes you expand your brain, and if something happens to the plane, I always want to, as an engineer, I want to look at it and I need to know exactly why did this plane crash. That way you just learn every time something happens. Find a local club or at least a person that knows what they're doing. Learn the sport from the ground up, not just go out and buy a jet and try to fly it. Have fun learning and building your experience up and go in whatever direction you like, whether it's scale, whether it's 3D aerobatics or helicopters. It's just find something that you enjoy doing. There's so many things that are starting to fade away now as the kids' interests change. I just hope they can keep the sport continuing and to grow. And if you believe in model planes like I do, it's something you should consider. And if you've flown planes in your past and enjoyed it, why not?